House of the Dragon Episode 8 Trailer Explained. With the most recent episode of the show erupting with Aemond losing his eye but gaining a dragon, and Rhaenyra and Daemon committing to each other and now being married, the Episode 8 trailer looked as though it's going to build upon that but contain the final time jump of the season. With it looking like we're going to jump forward a significant amount of time, I thought I'd break down the trailer and explain all that there was to take away from it. So let's get into it. Here is House of the Dragon Episode 8 Trailer Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The trailer opened up with the line, "As hand, I speak with the king's voice on this and all other matters." Otto is sat upon the Iron Throne, which is an eerie shot because despite the fact he's not been working away in the background in order to get himself on the Iron Throne, he's been doing it for members of his family, and him being sat there almost acts as a sign of job complete, despite the fact that it's far from over. But this is a step in the right direction for his plan and a visual representation of what he hopes to achieve. I believe in this instance Otto will be giving orders and speaking for the king, despite the fact that it may not be true to what the king wants, due to the fact that King Viserys will likely be in a state of being bedbound. We saw this later on in the trailer where it appeared as though King Viserys was in the worst condition that he'd been in. Rhaenyra was stood in the crowd along with one of Laena's children and also one of her own, but I think this is taken from later on in the episode, once they've arrived at King's Landing from Dragonstone. Following this, we had a line spoken by Rhaenys which stated, "Tomorrow the Hightowers land their first blow." This was spoken when there was a shot of all of the Hightowers around the Iron Throne, where they're looking relatively disappointed by what they're seeing. This leads me to think that it could be Rhaenyra ascending the Iron Throne or entering the room, especially considering they're off to the side and grouped all together. Or they could just be mourning King Viserys, as it looks as though Alicent is fixated on something whilst the others are not. After this, we had a shot of the seven-pointed star. The seven-pointed star is a symbol of faith which stands for the 7-in-1 Godhead. Following this, Rhaenyra stated, "Those vipers rule in my father's name," which leads me to believe that the Hightowers have ascended the Iron Throne, and could potentially be ruling following the death of Viserys. Or it's most likely going to be that King Viserys is now unable to rule as he's now bound to his bed and on the verge of death, and they're ruling in his name as he's now unable to, leading Otto to step in as hand, and be the reason as to why he sat on the Iron Throne. The fact that the music stopped and then it abruptly cut to Sir Otto on the throne leads me to think that it could well be the case. As well, referring to them as vipers highlights that Rhaenyra views them as snakes, and snakes that contain evil nature, as depicted in religious texts. This then led Daemon to state, to King's Landing then, where it seems as though they're going to be heading towards in order to take what is Rhaenyra's and assert their claim. After this occurred, we saw Rhaenyra entering King Viserys' chamber, where he appeared to be resting or deceased. There was smoke that was being emitted on the side, so it leads me to believe that he's still alive but could well be on his deathbed, and in his final few moments, as the maesters may be making him as comfortable as can be. Following this, we heard that Lord Corlys Velaryon, the Sea Snake, had taken a large hit in the Battle of the Stepstones, and he doesn't appear in the trailer at all. We don't know if he's injured or if he's going to die, but I don't think that he is going to die in this instance. I think it's just going to be referencing an injury that's occurred during battle. However, with the episode titled Lord of the Tides, it does make me question that. This is then when we saw Aemond Velaryon, the Sea Snake's brother, for the first time engaging in conversation since episode 3 of the show, other than Laena's funeral, where it seems as though he's going to be standing in for Corlys in representing the house. We had Aemond ask Rhaenys who will take the Driftwood throne, which is the throne of Driftmark. It's been positioned after the line about Corlys taking a hit in the Stepstones, but I don't think that he's referring to the present, but more so in the future, tying back to the conversation in episode 7 between Rhaenys and Corlys, around if Driftmark would go to Lucerys or one of Laena's children. After this, there was a powerful line being spoken by King Viserys, which I think could potentially be taken from his deathbed. He stated, "The crown cannot stand strong if the House of the Dragon is divided." This is referencing the inevitable demise of the house after he passes due to the rivalry between the Greens and the Blacks, and the fact that despite the truth that they're family, there's a constant rift and conflict between them. There is the sound of a bell that chimes behind this line as well, which makes me think that it could be one of the last of Viserys and his time could come to an end. Following this line, we had a scene of the gates opening, and judging by this slight look that we got, and the final shot of the trailer, it looks as though it's Aemond Velaryon who's arrived at King's Landing and is being let in. The next shot that we had was of Daemon looking as though he had a dragon egg. We know that Syrax was going to have another batch of eggs due to Rhaenyra mentioning it to Alicent in episode 6 of the show, so it could be one of them. However, due to the surprised nature, it could be Daemon retrieving one of Vhagar's if she were to create some. The line being spoken after this scene was, "This is a matter of blood, not ambition," as it then cut to Sir Otto getting up from the Iron Throne, showing that blood is going to be shed in order to claim it, but also tying into the fact that by blood right, Rhaenyra is the rightful heir to the throne. Following this, it then looked as though, just like we've seen throughout their time in the show, Aegon, Aemond, Lucerys and Jacaerys are going to be getting into some kind of conflict when they meet again. One would imagine it would likely be over their legitimacy again, as that's the main thing that they can hold over them. Or Aemond could have beaten them when he faced them earlier on in the trailer, and the brothers could be looking to get revenge. However, judging by the way that Jacaerys got up in the trailer when he was next to Aegon, it's most likely down to some words that get spoken. The final line that got said in the trailer was by Otto Hightower, and it's that of "the threat of war looms." This is most likely being spoken to Alicent, judging by the shot that we had earlier on in the trailer where she sat where the king would usually be sitting when meeting with his council, and Otto was positioned where he usually is as Hand of the King. One thing that was also included in the trailer was of what looked like Daemon based off of the fact that he had a hood up, and it seemed as though he was meeting with Mysaria. Mysaria goes on to become the Mistress of Whisperers to Rhaenyra, so I would imagine that she'll be informing Daemon of some intel that she's aware of, and it could be the very thing that leads Rhaenyra to say the line that we heard, "This is a trap." I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen in next week's episode. I feel a lot is going to have to happen as it's the final episode before the penultimate one occurs, so I feel they'll be laying down the foundations for an explosive end to the season. King Viserys certainly doesn't have long left, and this episode could well be his last, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm intrigued to see how everything will be when King Viserys isn't there to be the middleman between the two rival families, and then things are able to develop into the war that Otto claims is looming. So, there you have it. House of the Dragon Episode 8 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos on House of the Dragon, such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think is going to happen next? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.